Conti swung over a corner. The Brazilian defence couldn't clear again, and from Marco Tardelli's shot, Rossi spun 6 yards out to score his third goal of the game.
Another sad way to start the Calcio, guys. Just before we were about to start recording this episode, news broke. Paolo Rossi, the Italian legend, the hero of the 1982 World Cup, sadly passed away, aged 64. This just 2 weeks after Maradona passed away. Just awful news for the world of soccer. Here on the Calcio, guys, with Adreano, Gianni Delacolli. I'm Nicholas Di Giovanni. How you guys doing?
Sad, very, very sad. You never this year. We've mentioned it now time and time again. It's like you spoke about right now. It's 2 weeks after the devastating loss of Diego Armando Maradona. We lose another legend in the calcio world, in Paolo Rossi. Just devastating news from a terrible year so far, 2020, and this is not the way we wanted to start off this episode, but we did want to honor him the best way we could have in a short period of time. So definitely rest in peace, and sending our best wishes over to him, his family, and everyone close to him, because he truly meant a lot to Italian soccer.
I'll be perfectly straight and honest. I'm sad. I'm not as sad it's bad to compare, but it wasn't as hard as 2 weeks ago, but still, nonetheless, we lose an Italian legend. None of us here have ever had a chance to even watch him play, but my stepdad told me so many different stories about the 82 World Cup and stuff that it was hard not to fall in love with that story, and it's hard not to fall in love with that team. Not just Rossi, but a lot of players like Tardelli and whatnot, Zoff and Nets, and so on and so forth. It's just, it's sad. This was a man who had an amazing comeback story, and just in life and in soccer, and he showed what can happen when you're resilient, when you keep on fighting, and we lost a very big figure in Italian soccer.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are familiar with his story. He started off his career pretty hot. He played, I believe it was with Vicenza. He won the Serie B scoring race, and then he was involved in the scandal in 1980. Was suspended for 3 years. Originally was pushed down to 2. Once he signed with Juventus, came back in time for that World Cup. 6 goals, including 3, including a hat trick against Brazil. Scored another in the final. He's a player of our parents' generation. Straight up, he's a player of our parents' generation. But what he did in that World Cup is, if you're gonna compare it to 2006, is he was that 1982 Fabio Grosso. He was the hero, and out of every single World Cup team, there's always going to be that hero. Sadly, 2 weeks ago we spoke about Diego Maradona. He was the hero of 86. Paolo Rossi in 82. He ended up winning the Ballon d'Or that year too. I didn't know that, actually. I obviously heard all the stories about him being the hero of that team and his comeback, but I actually didn't know he won the Ballon d'Or. So that's pretty cool. Pretty cool to know. Considering all the legends, who were around at that time. Zico played in that World Cup. Maradona played in that World Cup too. So he got hot at the right time. Played a couple more years with Juve. Won 2 Scudetti. Won UEFA Super Cup. Won European Cup Winners' Cup, and won the European Cup, which was the equivalent of the Champions League before the Champions League. So he picked up the hardware wherever he went, and I think if you talk to a lot of the older fans, I've been seeing on Twitter, especially a lot of the older fans, like Marcello, the president of Milan Club Montreal, said Paolo Rossi was the player that made him fall in love with soccer.
Yeah, and I can imagine that goes for a lot of people. Like we said, icon, legend. winner, and touched so many fans' hearts, in that short period of time. So, it's just talk about determination, grit, and a comeback story. Like Gianni said, I think these are all things that Paolo Rossi embodied, and he'll definitely be missed by so many. And once again, from all three of us here at the Culture Guys, definitely rest in peace, Pablito.
And Gianni, I'm sure your Nono would have some more stories of Paolo Rossi too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, unfortunately, this happened way too soon for us to have a chance to even talk to my grandfather about it. We found out the news like not even 15 minutes before we started recording this episode. So, but definitely I'm gonna talk to him about it. Even my stepdad. I think my stepdad will have more vivid memories about it. He was, if I'm scratching my brain correctly, he was gonna be 20 years old. I think he was 19 years old when they won. He was 19 going on 20, yeah. And it's crazy, especially during that time. You get to see your team win the World Cup. Mind you, we saw it too, but I was a young teenager. But he was able to go celebrate it and whatnot, and I'm pretty sure it's more vivid in his mind. So I'm definitely gonna speak to him about it and get some stories from him to share with you guys probably next week.
And I just have Twitter pulled up a couple of posts of pictures of Rossi and Maradona. So just been a crazy 2 weeks. As we mentioned, this happened right before we came on air. We had a show plan, so we're going to take a short break, and then on the other side of break, we're going to talk everything about the Serie A and the Champions League, and we're going to have Jerry Mancini on later. Well, sure, we'll definitely ask him about Paolo Rossi and Lazio.
Floated in towards McKennie! And Juve have got their level up. And the American comes up with the goods for Juventus.
The Calcio Guys is a weekly podcast by Adreano Donardo, Gianni Dellacoli, and myself, Nicholas Di Giovanni. We want to bring Calcio back to its roots in our communities and share stories from around the world about why we're passionate about the beautiful game. You can listen to us anywhere where you listen to your podcasts, including Spreaker, Google Podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, iHeart Radio, and Mixcloud. Give us your opinion on social media at The Calcio Guys on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. The intro song is Fireworks by Jazar. I guess back to reality as best we can now. Despite that terrible news, there still was a ton of soccer this past week. Here on the Calcio Guys, as I mentioned before, Adriano Donardo, Gianni Dellacoli, I'm Nicholas Di Giovanni. So the big news today, Champions League. Yesterday, Lazio come in with that 2-2 draw. So close to getting eliminated. I know our Lazio friends kind of made them really nervous watching that game against Club Brugge. I'm gonna ask Jerry about that later. Juve, massive win at the Camp Nou, 3-0 to finish on top of their group. Today, Atalanta, stellar performance against Ajax. I really wasn't too sure if they'd pull it off. Like, I didn't think, I'll be honest, I didn't think they'd actually win the game. I thought it was going to finish a draw and they'd still, would pull through, but you can't underestimate Ajax either. So, fantastic effort by them. And then Inter. Oh my God, Inter, what are you doing? Inter? 0-0 against Shakhtar. Sorry, Adrian.
Yeah. No. I'm glad you said the scoreline. I was going to say it too, but it was. We had almost a time now that we could have had all four of our Italian teams, progress past the group stages into the round of 16 in the Champions League, and it obviously didn't happen with the final result of Inter today. But like I posted earlier, in the most pazza way possible. Inter, bow out of Europe completely, finishing last in their group. They had a chance from going from last to making it into the round of 16, like I mentioned. Couldn't get it done. maybe some unlucky breaks, maybe not. I don't know, however you want to call it. But just, terrible, because this, as we've mentioned many, many times, and you've probably heard on many other podcasts, year 2, Conte, Inter, and it's still not working, or something's still not working, at least in Europe. Serie A right now, it's a bit of a different pace, but in Champions League, it was definitely a devastating and just embarrassing exit of this competition. So for them, it definitely stings. For other teams, great to see now that's Atalanta 2 years in a row making out of the group stages. They left it to pretty much to the last day both times. Juve, like Nick mentioned, finishing first with the win against Barca. And Lazio, you know what? I think now Lazio, they got the 2-2 draw, and they made it, past. But I think the birth of our little Leone, our friend Sean McIntosh, congratulations to him. Auguri from all three of us. We love you, brother. I think that was it was in the stars, for Lazio to advance. So, it all ended well over there. And like I said, Inter is the only bad apple in this group right now. But we'll see how it goes for our teams going forward.
Yo, Nick, I think you should want to address a comment that you think that Lazio wasn't a Champions League team. I'm just teasing you, but still.
I didn't think they were a Champions League team. They didn't look good at the beginning of the season. They had a really slow start, and they picked it up. But despite their slow start, they played well in the Champions League. And so at least when I'm proven wrong, it's a good thing for Lazio. It's a good thing for Italy, for Italian soccer. It's better than if I said Lazio's going to make it through, and then I'm proven wrong, and they're eliminated, right? So,
yeah,
I was wrong.
And I see how you're saving face, but you know what? At least you admit that when you were wrong, you were wrong.
It's like with my thing on Chiesa. I told our friend Daniel Lucci. I said, I wasn't a fan of Chiesa. I'm still, on the fence about him. But at least if I'm proven wrong, it's a good thing for Juventus. So we'll put it that way.
Now, what happens if you were wrong and he was playing for a different team?
Then it'd be a good thing for Italy.
Fair. That's a good point. But to return to the Champions League point, especially that Lukaku made a comment earlier this week saying that he believes that he's a top 5 striker in the world now. I love Lukaku. The man is very talented. He's able to score those goals for Inter. He does them quietly, but the problem is that he does them quietly. He doesn't score those goals when the team needs him to do it the most. He bottled the Europa League final last year. This year, he didn't, like in Champions League. He wasn't able to just get one goal. Inter just needed one goal to move on, and he wasn't able to capitalize. In my eyes, if you're saying that you're a top 5 striker in the world, you should be somebody that's at any given time able to score a goal for your team. Like you're able to, like when a team faces against you, you're like, crap, we have to think that we're going to already be down 1-0 versus this team because they have X player starting in their striker slot, So for me, Lukaku, if you're not going to give that kind of presence, that kind of that fear into other teams, you're not a top 5 striker. You can debate and argue about it. Yes, he has shown up, but he didn't help out Inter when they needed him. And I know it's not just Lukaku's fault. Obviously, it falls on the entire team. A lot of people are pointing the finger at Conte, and rightfully so. But still, there's no excuse. You just needed one goal. You just needed to win. And this is what's going to haunt them for a while now.
Yeah, you know what I think, and I saw a comment on social media. I think Inter was fully expecting the biscotto between Real Madrid and Borussia Mönchengladbach, because if that game finished in a draw, both teams advanced. It was as simple as that. Or was it? Or I forget. Now I'm drawing a blank. But there was a lot of talk of a biscotto between those teams, and it didn't come through. Real Madrid won their game, opening the door for Inter, but I think in their mind, the whole time they were thinking about that biscotto, and it distracted them. So in that situation, you always have to get the job first. You have to get your job done first, and then worry about other teams. But
if I may intervene though, but like you shouldn't have that mentality.
no,
You should
no,
not
of
have that
course not.
mentality. Like if you're playing on a top tier team that's currently second in your domestic league and you're fighting for a qualification spot in Champions League. Heck, even if you lose, at least you finish third. Sorry, even if you don't qualify, at least you finish third in your group and you move on to Europa League. You shouldn't have the mentality like, oh, they're gonna gentleman's agreement for a draw. You don't care about that. You still try to get the result. They didn't. That's the issue here. I'm not yelling at you. I'm not getting angry at you, Nick. By the way, I hope you don't take me the wrong way here. But I'm just frustrated at the mentality because it's like that can't be like, yeah, maybe they thought that Real was going to do that. Yeah, we'll go for a draw. We'll guarantee each other a spot up front, up in the next round. But even at that, there's still the Europa League that you can fight for.
Yeah,
there's still a third place slot. At least it's a consolation placement. I wouldn't call it a prize because it's not really a prize to finish third, but
it's better than nothing. It's better than getting knocked out.
If you're right and that was their mentality for that game, then it's a loser mentality and they're not winning the Scudetto or getting anywhere close to it and anytime soon, if that's their constant mentality on that team.
But you know what? I want to bring this up because, maybe you as a Milan fan, Adreano. So now, Inter is the only top team. Okay, so Solo, they're still up there in the table. But Inter, they're the only ones who aren't going to be playing in Europe, come February, come March. Obviously, Lazio, Atalanta, Juve qualified for Champions League. Milan and Roma have already qualified for the next round in the Europa League. Napoli could do that tomorrow. Inter, they're going to be focused solely on the Serie A right now. That's where they put all their effort. They have a deep squad for one competition. Sure, there's Coppa Italia too, but that's a handful of games that they play. I think maybe for Inter, it's almost like a blessing in disguise. Especially, maybe at the end of the season, because they're second. They're second place right now, 5 points. And at the end of the season, if Inter wins the championship, people are going to look back on this loss and say, you know what, maybe this helped them because they're going to be full of rest. So, and at least they don't have to pretend that they care about the Europa League. They just go guns blazing for Serie A.
Yeah, and you know what? It's funny that you bring that up because I was going to as well. Maybe this was the best, not the best case scenario, but like quote unquote best case scenario for Inter. Bowing out like this. Obviously, the fans don't want to accept that. The fans, no fan of any club that you support want that, of course. But like you said, maybe if this is now the second year under Conte, like I mentioned, putting. It's very risky, but putting all, your eggs in one basket in the Serie A basket now, with now the depth that you do have, the players that they can interchange, and like Lukaku saying, top 5 striker in the world, I think this, could be the year maybe that Inter do it. But at the same time, it's a long campionato, like we know. I think it's, like I said, very, very risky. We don't know how it's going to be, later on in the season. COVID's still around. Injuries do happen. Will Conte still be around? These are a lot of factors that, we have to take into consideration when you talk about Inter. So, obviously, like I said, it's not the ideal situation, but maybe, like you said, Nick, blessing in disguise, I can see that. Especially that, Milan's up there in first place. You never want to see your city rival ahead of you. And, Juve having, the start that they've had so far this season. Maybe it's the risk they're willing to take, maybe not. But I think it's going to be tough. And I don't know. I can't see it right now. It's still early, but we'll have to wait and see what happens.
I just want to throw in there that whether I don't think they will. I picked Inter to win this year, but I don't think they will anymore. But even if they do win the Scudetto, I think Conte's out no matter what. I think at the end of the season, Conte's out. I'm gonna make the bold assumption and say that, and we'll see come at the end of the year.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's I don't know if I'd call it a bold statement. I mean, I think he's pretty much on the hot seat.
Every week he's on the hot seat.
Yeah, but even if he wins, people are like, "Oh, he won, he won't leave." I'm like, even if he wins, he's out.
Yeah, true. we like to have fun here on the Calcio guys. I want to play a little quiz with you guys.
Okay.
No shit.
I'm sorry I didn't announce a quiz before. I didn't allow you guys to study. But Gianni, you had an exam today, so I know your brain is firing. It's going. So if I say this thing hasn't happened.
Going is a going.
I think you froze
there.
Sorry,
you cut off there for a bit.
Yeah. You froze, Gianni. You froze, and your whatever you said was really delayed.
Oh, okay. Well, all I said was, I guess it's a good. It in a way, my brain is going. I'm not sure if it's going well, but it is going.
It's there. It's there.
It's there.
If I said this hasn't happened since 1995, do you guys know what I'm talking about?
If it's what you wrote in the notes, if it's what you wrote in the notes, then yes.
So you did study.
Well, fuck, that was sneaky.
Did you add this into the notes right before the show? Because I read the notes this morning.
It was there. I don't know.
So, Gianni, can you guess at least?
Has Inter finishing 4th in their Champions League group?
No. That's never happened, actually.
Oh, well, first time.
Yeah, this is the first time that happened, no? Since they haven't gotten out of the, well, first they haven't gotten out of the group stage since, 11, 12, I think I saw, and they haven't finished 4th ever, so crazy stats there. But, Ja, come on, another guess. What do you think?
This hasn't happened since 95?
Yeah.
It has to do with 2 teams in the same city.
Oh, God, let me guess. Torino winning the derby, is that what it is?
Yeah, Torino winning the derby at Juventus, and they were about 15 minutes away from pulling that off before this happened.
A wall of weight attacking this. Bonucci! All smiles now from the jaws of defeat. The champions snatch a likely victory.
Weston McKennie, Leo Bonucci, derby heroes. We've talked about on the show how a derby could change the mentality. And not only a derby, apparently this season, a game against Torino could change your team's fortunes. Lazio, Inter, now Juve. 3 comeback wins against Torino. Lazio, they completely turned their season around after that game. Inter, a bit. Not in Champions League in Serie A, I think so. And so we'll wait and see with Juve. But, for 75 minutes, I was like, damn, it's done. It's done. I thought, Fire Pirlo was already going to come out in the newspapers, and then they had different plans. And Cuadrado, I think Cuadrado is he's like the derby hero. He scored in 15-16. He scored at the end to win the game. He scored in July, 2 assists today. He scored, ruled offside. But yeah, even the way Juve played it against Barca, it's an early sign. It's an early hope. But we have to wait and see. I'm happy about that. With the Champions League game on Tuesday, I don't think we realized just how lucky we were to have Cristiano Ronaldo, Leo Messi, and Gianluigi Buffon all on the same pitch together. Everyone's talking about, Messi versus Ronaldo, and then Buffon, 42 years old, and 7 stops. He made 7 saves on Leo Messi. He was incredible in the game, I found. It wasn't easy saves, too. He made some good stops, and it was just it was amazing to see him kind of turn back the clock on that.
Yeah, it was stuff that Napoli couldn't even do this year in the summer when they faced Barca and champions. It's my God, it's so crazy to think last year's champions was like this summer type of thing. It's crazy, but
yeah.
But still, you got to give credit where credit's due. Like the Torino game. Okay, it's Torino. They're known for choking at the last minute and giving up their leads, or even giving up a chance to get a draw or result of anything. And so whatever you can, and it's on paper, Juventus should have won that game right before the comeback even happened. But against Barcelona, you have to give them credit. Fantastic game for Juve, great showing. Buffon, spectacular. So yeah, it's a great sign for them, and hopefully this is a confidence booster for them.
Yeah, I think the Torino match, the Derby della Mole. Gianpaolo has his curse on Torino. It's very evident, in this campionato, or just for this season, or when he got appointed. he's fucking cursed. I'm telling you. But going past that, the game on Tuesday against Barca, again, never easy. Barca, to facing champions. I guess Juve got the job done. Braced by Ronaldo. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was 2 penalties that he scored. But the goal that that was the talk of Twitter, talk of social media. Weston McKennie. I don't know. I saw the highlight on that. What a beautiful goal. I'll give him credit where credit's due. He's definitely emerged as a young little bright star in Serie A so far, slowly but surely. Especially coming from American kid, played in Germany, now in Serie A. These are definitely different leagues that he's been getting to come accustomed to, and he's been slowly but surely, I think, developing. So and producing, where they've lacked, so far. I don't know how many seasons now, but it's been a couple of seasons that probably since the Pirlo days of him playing for Juve that they've their midfield has been weak. So I guess fortune's turned for Juve, and right now they're looking good. The Serie A is looking good, man. It's a tight race. It's scary, and it's going to be a fight to the finish.
AJ, have you checked transfer market lately?
No, I didn't check nothing. What? Oh yeah.
Why? What's that smirk?
Yeah, I know. I saw the picture. I saw. You can. I don't know if you can add, but yeah, I saw the picture.
No, there's nothing to add. I mean, I don't know. Just I saw some interesting stats.
Yeah.
The Milan penalty kings of the Serie A this season. Gonna win the penalty championship this year.
We'll take whatever champions we can. We'll take it all. We need that.
Yeah, I mean, after 9 years? Well, you had a couple. At least you're not Inter. You had a couple of trophies since you last.
I'd rather see Milan get a second star before Juve gets a fourth. How about that?
Milan's a what? 18 squad?
Yeah, they need 2 more championships to get their second.
Yeah,
we'll see.
You guys need 4. Stop saying 2. You guys need 4 more.
Milan Twitter are hounds, man. They're hounds.
They are.
I love Milan Twitter. Milan Twitter, baby.
Tweeted out a picture of those stats as a joke, and everyone's jumping on me. Don't shoot the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger. I have nothing to, not even an opinion. Just numbers. Just numbers.
Or watch the movie 300. They killed the messenger in that movie. So.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when it's a Juventino behind the keyboard.
That's why I'm staying home, because if I go out, there might be some hounds out there, some Milan fans. Milan Twitter, they're nuts. But,
shout out to all my Milan Twitter brothers. I love you. I don't know about these guys, but I love you guys. It's always good fun.
I enjoy Milan Twitter.
And you know what? Out of the 8, in 10 games they've gotten 8. I think the stat was right. And a lot of fans saying that 7. Probably 7 of them were merited. The one makeup one against Roma was obviously the penalty of that, like I said, makeup call in that wild game against Roma, where that game got lost before it even started. And I'd probably have to agree with that. Even like we've mentioned, you're playing attacking football, you're getting in those dirty areas. These things will happen. And like we mentioned, what we spoke, in our chat. And I don't know if it was the WhatsApp chat or our personal chat, just the 3 of us, but the point I think that you made, Nick, actually, it's easy. Sometimes it's easy to get the penalties. It's not easy to score. So, I think that's well said as well. So, it is what it is. This is part of the game. You got to finish when things are happening in the game. You got to finish, and we've had our leading goal scorer Ibra missed 3 of them so far. So, it is what it is, but. I know it's part of the game, and we move on.
They're gonna miss penalties. I think this year's strange for that. Didn't Jorginho miss 2 this year as well, or something crazy like that? Like he missed like Jorginho for Chelsea. Like he missed 2 or 3 of them. It was something crazy. So yeah.
But were you at least happy with the result? I tuned into Milan Weekly podcast. I like what, I forget if it was Vince or Steve that said that it was just one of those wins. Like Juve for 9 years, they always had those grind out wins where maybe the ball just bounces their way, and I guess for Milan, maybe luck is on their side a bit, and I don't know if you agree with me, but that was one of the games.
Well, right now, this is this period where they've looked good. Obviously, nothing perfect, but they've looked good. The footballing gods, like we like to say, are always crazy, and I agree with both Stephen Vince, Milan Weekly Pod, that about that comment. We've seen for years, and it's no jab, but we've seen Juve, play terrible, play ugly, however you want to call it. But at the end of the day, they got the result. They went home with that 1-0 win, went home, on to the next week. They got the 3 points. And you know what? At the end of the day, that's all that matters. So, I think, this game against Samp, it was one of those games. Obviously, Kessie on the penalty again scored. Frank the Tank, he's been phenomenal. And Castillo, first touch, comes in and scores. And, I would have liked the clean sheet for Gigio, but, that Ekdal scored to make it 2-1. But, this is a game, you take the points and you run, and, you go on to the next game. And if it's luck, if it's, playing, good football, if it's the team coming together, I don't know what it is. I don't care what it is, but, the results are coming, and, you got to ride with that, because it's not going to last forever. And when times are tough, you need to rely on your unity as a squad. And I think this club has it right now. So it's good signs for Milan, so far this season.
Gianni, Napoli 4-0 at Crotone. It seems like it's always raining in Crotone. I swear to God, it's always raining.
It's ridiculous. It's crazy.
4-0. Another 4-0 win for Napoli. Incredible. Insigne, he looks really good right now, and he's choosing the right time to get hot with the Euros coming up in June. Hopefully, he could carry that form through the summer. But then Roma 0-0. Haraslin scored a nice goal for Sassuolo, ruled off for offside. But what did you see with your teams this weekend?
Well, for Napoli, it's Crotone, so I mean you can't take yes, it's nice to get a result, and you should be getting a result versus that team. But, I was happy to see the 4-0 win. I wasn't expecting a 4-0. I was expecting maybe like a 2-0 win, but 4-0 was very nice. Insigne and Mertens, both phenomenal that match. Mertens even came on late, and late. It was like 70th, 60th? Anyways, he was a sub, and he got a goal and assist. He got 2 assists. What am I saying? Insigne got the goal and assist. But, Napoli's offense has been one of the more dominant offenses in Serie A, and we've been saying this from time and time again. 4 different goal scorers that game. They can pretty much turn it on whenever they want. It's nice if they would show up every once in a while. Not like against the Milan game where unfortunately they did not show up. But give credit to Milan, that was a very solid game for them.
Yeah.
But all in all, Napoli, with what they have on paper up front, they should be getting these type of results. And it's 2 games in a row that they got 4 goals in a row, which is fantastic. Now, hopefully they continue this momentum for tomorrow and kind of use it as their engine for the rest of the year. In terms of Roma, it's kind of like it's still like an up and down season. I feel like as if the squad is trying to find some form of an identity or some type of unity. I don't know, because with Fonseca, his coaching style doesn't really work well with having like a target man type like Dzeko up front. But it's not saying anything bad about Dzeko. It's just it's not his style. But they're somehow trying to click their best, as the best as they can. And there's some games where like against the young boys where they won, and then there's games where it's like, oh, Sassuolo is 0-0. Well, Mickey's goal, imagine they were down a man and they got Dzeko. I don't know what happened there. Got the foul. I don't know what he was thinking. I know he's going for the ball, but that just ruined the chance at probably getting the W. Mind you, Sassuolo's goal was also called offside. But what I just feel like as if Roma right now, there's games where they look like a solid core, and then there's games where they just look like a mishmash of players that they're trying to throw paint. What's the term? Throwing paint against the wall, hopefully it sticks, or throwing it against the wall, hopefully it sticks, type of thing.
Yeah.
I'm drawing a blank on the phrase, but basically that's them. They're trying to nail water to the wall. They're just trying to make something work.
That won't work. Okay, let's quickly do our MVPs and cards so we could have Jerry Mancini on. Gianni, you start.
So I could have easily chose Mertens or Insigne, but I didn't want to be too much of a homer. So in honor of Jerry coming onto the show, I chose Milinkovic-Savic as my MVP of the week. Goal and assist for the Lazio game. Very nice assist on his was the Immobile goal. Very beautiful play by him, and very crucial for Lazio to get that win because it pushed them up into 7th, and they're trying to get back into the top 6 picture. Heck, even top 4. So that they needed to get the W and they got it. So and Milinkovic-Savic showing up when they needed to. So he gets my MVP of the week.
It's Milinkovic-Savic. Gorgeous free kick. A second goal, an absolute beauty from Milinkovic-Savic. An absolute perler from the dead ball situation.
Gianni, Adri?
Yeah, I guess, we're all rooting for Jerry on this, for him to come on. But because I had 2 guys I wanted to mention. I spoke about one of them before in Weston McKennie. His goal, again, in the Champions League, phenomenal. I already spoke about, him. But I'm going to also go for the other Lazio player, Ciro Immobile. This guy we've always mentioned, can't stop scoring. Loved his play as of late. I think he's scored in his past 8 games, if not 9, I think it was, or 8 games out of his last 9 or something like that. Whatever the stat is, combining Champions League and Serie A. He's just been on hot form. Again, proving the doubters wrong. Again, finishing, being clinical. Right now I can't say enough good things about Ciro. I'll always probably back him. I don't even want to get into the Azzurri talk, but right now he's in form. He's hot. He's looking good. There's just in both competitions, and it's not easy to score in Serie A and in Champions League. So for me right now, Ciro's a man, and I got him MVP of the week.
Well, one back by Milinkovic-Savic. Immobile in the channel. Immobile is clean through here to give Lazio the lead. And you just knew he was going to send it beyond Providel. That's all he needs. One chance.
Sorry, Jerry, but I don't have a Lazio player for this one. I'm gonna go with the homer pick on this one. I didn't know if I was gonna choose one Cuadrado or Weston McKennie. No matter who I chose, they have the same hairstyles. So at least I had to choose between skills, not hairstyle. It's funny watching them on the pitch sometimes because they look so similar. But I did choose Cuadrado. Like I said before, 2 assists in the derby, another assist against Barca. A lot of people don't like him for his defensive play, which I understand. But the way Pirlo plays his system, where you have the right wing back coming up and down, you need an offensive guy too. He's forced into that defensive position. He was forced there by Sarri. So he's not a natural defender. But in terms of crossing, he's Juve's best crosser. So I think he really showed that these past games. And for Juve fans, we could only hope that he continues that form.
Floated in towards McKennie, and Juve have got their level up. And the American comes up with the goods for Juventus.
So I guess we'll do reverse order now. So originally I was going to give a yellow card to how soft some referees have become, especially the Serie A. They just flash red cards to whoever at the bench. Bench says something, they flash red card. I know you shouldn't be abusing the ref. I know that. But it seems like it happens too often that it's a bit too much. Morata got suspended 2 games for talking to the ref. Paratici and Nedved got suspended a week and fined for comments they made during the game. And Carlo Pinsoglio also got a red card for commenting made to the ref. Maybe they're a bit more strict because of the lack of fans and the audio. It's easier to pick them up. But I'm not a fan how they're just flashing cards to whoever on the bench. It's not even just Juve. It's many teams. A lot of the fiery coaches like Juric, like Gasperini, they're the ones. Mihailovic, they're the ones who get in trouble too. But I think I'm gonna have to change that to the red in what happened yesterday between PSG and sorry if I'm butchering this name, but Basa Shahir. I'm sorry if I butcher that. And again, it had to do with the referees, right? With the alleged racist incident between the fourth official and
that's coming from all three of us. That's coming from all three of us.
Just from exactly from towards the assistant coach Pierre Webo. It's sickening. It's sickening because UEFA claims that no racism. They show the banner every game. These referees have the patches on their arms. The players have the patches on their arms, and you still see that stuff. And it was caught on TV. Just an embarrassing moment for UEFA. Some people are saying it's lost in translation. No, racism isn't lost in translation. Straight up, it's an international thing, and when someone acts like that. I read today there's, the officials are facing a 10-match ban. What's that going to do? Strip them of their licenses. Make sure they never officiate a game again. Straight up. If UEFA is serious about this too, they also need to, teach the refs. Okay, most of the games they speak English, right? Okay, this education. You can't say this. You can't say that. This might be acceptable in your language, but it's not as acceptable in English. So if they're serious about that no racism patch on their arm, they educate the refs, educate their players. Hey, even do an educational program for the fans. So it's just an embarrassing situation for those officials. So they got my red card. Well, our red card.
Gonna go to the pocket and get out the red. It's a red card.
You guys?
Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought that up. We never like to condone any of that stuff, but when it's out there and when it's still going on, it definitely needs to get addressed. I retweeted it. Stop. Say no to racism. Punto e basta. It ends there. There shouldn't be this still going on in this day and age, but unfortunately, that's still the world we live in. But to move on from that, terrible incident, for me, I'm going to give my yellow. Nick mentioned it, I think, before about the Roma Sassuolo game, snooze fest. These are two teams that, so far to start the season, have maybe been up and down, but they've been in that top 6 in the table, have looked good at certain points. Thought maybe there would be a bit of a breakout with either of these teams, and this game was a game where one of them could have really got the better of the other team, and it just fell flat with the 0-0 draw. Like I said, snooze fest. Some chances, the goal that got called back on each end there, but and I believe there was a double yellow for the red for Pedro as well. Just lackluster game. Where I think that one of these teams, definitely have the capability to take the match and get all 3 points. We spoke about it before, but Inter in the Champions League, Conte excuses. I gotta see. I didn't read if what excuse he made this time, but again, yellow card for that. And yeah, that's for me. That's my two yellow cards, major yellow cards this week.
It's a second yellow, it looks like.
Gianni?
Well, basically, after today, my yellow card was just going to be just for the Eriksson incident. That's just embarrassing. Like, why? If you're going to... I understand, like, at the end of the day, you dress up for the team, and obviously whatever your manager tells you to do, you're going to do it because it's a team effort for the W, but... A player of that quality shouldn't be like. There's no point in subbing him on for the last 2-3 minutes. I understand maybe you're trying to run the clock or whatever, but my yellow card is going to be upgraded to not just that incident, but overall Conte's performance this week for Inter. The man's been getting disappointing results for the team, and I feel for the fans. If I was an Inter fan, I'd be pissed because this is probably their best team since since their tripleta. You know, it's probably one of their best teams since, and they're not getting the results. They're not, whether it's in Champions, whether it's in Serie A. You know, and Conte himself, I think, is just not the right guy anymore. So he gets my yellow card of the week.
It's a late challenge, surely maybe the first yellow of the match.
So coming up, we'll have Jerry Mancini from the Calcio Connection podcast. Welcome back to the Calcio Guys now with joining us now from the Calcio Connection podcast, Jerry Mancini. Jerry, how's it going?
Fantastic. Celebrating Lazio going to the round of 16 the last 2 days. A lot of words. I don't know how to explain it. Just I choke up every time I talk about it, but it's excitement, right? It's 20 years. Like that's a long time to. Basically, the last time they made it was when they won a Scudetto. That's a lot has happened. A lot has changed for this club, from previous ownership of corruption to Latito now, and basically providing stability. I'm not the biggest fan of Latito. There's the good and the bad we can all agree probably on, but at the end of the day, it's a club that's starting to go in the right direction underneath Simone Inzaghi. It's looking like good. It could be good years ahead, but baby steps. That's what I say.
You wanna just give us your thoughts on the game yesterday and the entire group stage, and what you saw from Lazio in the Champions League?
Just it's with Serie A, they have been a different team. The character has been there at times, but not consistent. But with Champions League, they have been consistent from start to end. So they beat Borussia Dortmund in their first match, and they progressed with 2 ties against Zenit and Club Brugge. And those 2 games really defined their character, because against Bruges, we were without 12 players due to injury and COVID-19. And then you go to Zenit on the road, and they have a hostile crowd. They're allowed to have fans. And they pull off a 1-1 tie from their superhero, Felipe Caicedo, in the 82nd minute. Then you go back and you play Zenit at home, and everyone's returned. And it's a great performance. They pull off a 3-1 win. Then you go to Germany, you play Dortmund, you earn a draw. Now, yesterday was not their best performance in the group stage, but for people to say that if they're choke artists, they got lucky to win, I don't think they were lucky. I think they earned the 2-2 draw. Yes, a crossbar did save them, but everyone looks at the last game as the most important game. I think the first game is the most important game, because you need to start off on the right foot. You need to get that win. You need to start that momentum. Had they had lost to Borussia Dortmund, we may be thinking that Lazio may not have that momentum. They don't have that motivation, that mental mindset of being able to consistently go undefeated in the group stage and do what they did. Now, the character from Champions League to Serie A has been day and night, but a lot of people probably doubted Lazio of the 4 Italian teams qualifying for Champions League, thinking that they probably wouldn't make it out of the group stage. They have proved many wrong, and credit to Simone Inzaghi, because he's been able to get the best out of his players, and he's really revitalized a lot of players. And most notably this season has been Wesley Hoot, who came over from Southampton, and a lot of fans were really, really disappointed to see him rejoin the club. I know the first time he was with Lazio it was inconsistency, we'll say, with him, and he didn't have that good character, the persona of him. 2 seasons later, he goes on multiple loan stints. He comes off an impressive season in the Belgian league, comes back to Lazio, and Simone Inzaghi, who managed him last time and understands him, gets the best out of him now. And he's done this with Luis Alberto, Ciro Immobile, Lucas Leiva. We can even say Sergei Milinkovic-Savic, he's gotten the best out of him too. So I know that a lot of people were mad that Marish Kambula didn't come. But look what we got. We got a guy in Wesley Hoot that we sold for 18 million, I think, around there. And now, if we were to decide to sign him, 6 million, we still made a profit off this guy, and we're getting a better player now that fits our system. So it's a lot of good signings that Tati has done this year, and a few that still we haven't seen yet. But in part, it's because COVID, injuries, the market was late, players arriving late. But in terms of the game yesterday, I think the biggest downfall, and if Lazio are able to be successful in the knockout stages, they need to be more clinical. Correa missed a chance. Ciro Immobile had a golden opportunity, hoofed it over the bar. You saw Akpro making a pass right across the goal area instead of just taking the shot down the right side. He passed it in no man's land and almost created an opportunity for Bruges. So Lazio needs to bury their chances against a team let's just say that they get Bayern Munich, or we got PSG, to Man City, to Liverpool. Those guys don't miss chances. They pounce on any opportunity that comes. Very rare do they miss chances. So for Lazio to succeed and go forward, two key points for me is finish your chances, and the second is the defense has to be much better. On both goals, it was on the second goal, poor man marking off a cross, which should never have gone in. And then the first goal was something that was made out of nothing, basically. You see Sergei Milinkovic-Savic and Luis Felipe close down the man, but they don't approach him near the sideline there, and it just goes through a gap of space, and Lucas Leiva does a poor job of taking his guy, and Pepe Reina doesn't make the save that he should. It's kind of a poor save, and it results in a goal. So, but at the end of the day, they got the job done. Crossbar did save them like it did when they won the Coppa Italia versus Roma. I seen a picture on Twitter that there was a comparison of the crossbar that saved Lazio when they won the Coppa Italia to the crossbar saving them to make them go to Champions League. But all around, it was a good performance, even though that the dying last 20, 30 minutes kind of they sat back. Maybe the fact that being up a man, I know that when you're up a man, it's supposed to be an advantage. I sometimes feel that it could be a disadvantage, and I know it sounds a little stupid, but you become too relaxed and you step out of your rhythm in the game, and you think that you have it in the bag, and you forget that even though you're up 2-1 with a man up, you still got to keep attacking, you still got to keep going. So that's how I kind of see this game and how we move forward.
And speaking of moving forward, I know you touched about it in a group chat, and you also mentioned some of the teams now. But just in case if any of the viewers don't know, the potential opponents for Lazio next round is Bayern, Real, Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea, and PSG. Which team would you prefer out of all those teams? Like, which one do you think Lazio has the best matchup for?
So I kind of tweeted this out tonight, and I'll give Nando credit too. I like Madrid. They just don't have that mojo like they've shown in the recent seasons. I just find that there's a lot of issues with the club. They're just not playing good football. I haven't watched a lot of Madrid, but in the small sample size I've seen in the Champions League, they lack consistency. They look good one game, they look bad the next game. Maybe it's an aging squad, maybe just a lack of player, not lack of player depth, but maybe the fact that they're big guns like Eden Hazard, who's really been a disappointment and can't stay fit. If it's not Madrid, I like to play Chelsea, and I know that my second team is Chelsea in the EPL, but I think that Lazio would match up very well against them. Their defense is very shaky. I think a team like Lazio can really exploit them and hurt them on the counterattack. Their midfield can match up very well against Jorginho and Conte. I know that Chelsea has a lot of they were really active in the summer transfer market, but it's a young squad that's still learning, still developing. The chemistry maybe may not be there yet with Chelsea. They looked good on some days, bad on some days, but I think that a team like that can really match up well with Lazio, where they don't have that top gun guy like Byron does, like Mancini does, where they can really hurt you. So I think those are the two teams. And if I had to pick another option, it would be Man City, because Man City doesn't look like the team that they used to be in recent seasons. I find that there's a lot of inconsistency there. And a lot of people probably think that you don't want to play Liverpool. Well, Liverpool doesn't have a good back end, and they have a lot of injuries. So a team like that, Lazio can hurt them on the counterattack again, right? So I think that other than Bayern Munich and probably PSG, even PSG is a beatable team, because we know how much they like to choke when it comes to Champions League. So
yeah,
if they come with the right mindset, Lazio, and they stick to their game and sharpen the defense, I think that they can beat anybody on a very good day.
That's well said, Jerry, because, we always say Champions League is a different beast. It's a different competition. It's especially in these knockout matchups. It's sometimes you gotta face the best, beat the best to be the best kind of thing, kind of that mentality. And I agree. I don't think Lazio should say, oh, let's hope we get this club, or let's say hope we get that team. They got to focus on themselves and let it play out on the pitch. But if we want to just move on quickly, we'll get out of Champions League, talking a bit more about Serie A. That wild game back against Torino, the 4-3 game. Caicedo at the death of deaths, 98th minute, I think it was. Caicedo doing it, a timeless amount of times now with Lazio. But did that kick off, maybe some good run of form? I know they've been up and down, with results from then. But was that a game that, seeing how Torino's been really struggling, they've been cursed by Gianpaolo, they just haven't looked good at all. Did them picking up that crucial win at the end have some impact on this squad, seeing how they've looked as of late, or is that just some fairy tale imagination thing?
Well, I would have said that yes, last season, of how they went on that run and how they were finding different ways to win, and it wasn't just one time where they came back late to win. But this season, they're really struggling to find that form, that consistency between Serie A and the Champions League. I don't know if it's a balance of players arriving late, like I alluded earlier, poor form, injuries, illnesses. I think this is a season where it's unpredictable, because you don't have that 3 months layoff in the summer where players can rest. You got that training, and you have ample amount of time to actually conduct your transfer market properly. And then you come into the season, and Lazio's never been to the Champions League in 13 seasons. So all of a sudden, Europa League wasn't a priority last year. So they were able just to focus on one league. But winning a game like against Torino may have saved a lot of points going forward, where they were able to manage a good draw against Juventus, where Caicedo once again came up big. And after the break, they were able to beat Crotone. Aside from maybe that it may have helped their form going forward, their matches against Sampdoria and Udinese weren't necessarily just Lazio being bad. Especially, I think Sampdoria game, they were very bad. But with Udinese, you got to give them credit, where they showed a really good game, and they really stepped up and just made it really difficult for Lazio on that day. I don't think it was just Lazio being bad. I think it was just them losing to an opponent that was just much more superior and came with a good tactic and a good game plan. It's been up and down, like I said earlier, with Serie A, but those kind of results can make a difference moving forward in your season. And I think that being able to beat Torino on that day in such circumstances may have also made an impact moving into their next match into the Champions League. So that, I think that may have been a bigger positive, is that being able to beat Torino on that Sunday. And I think the match afterwards was probably either Zenit or Club Brugge. I'm not sure, but I can't recall who they had played after that game. Zenit.
Yeah.
So to go with that attitude, and then I think that was Caicedo week, actually, where he beat Torino and then went to Zenit, scored the goal in the 82nd minute to tie, and then went back and got that miraculous goal against Juventus. So some good character games where may have actually made a difference in their season up until this point. I'm just hoping that Champions League now put aside till February, that Lazio can now start focusing on the season, because I do believe that there's a lot of personnel in the squad that can really make a push for a top 4 spot. So
we got a couple of social media questions. We got 2 of them that are kind of similar. Our friend Fabrizio from Genoa Club Toronto, so pretty much in your neck of the woods. He said he wrote, hi Jerry, for Lazio, what happened to them this year? He said, do you think they'll qualify for the Champions League? And then we got a similar question from Pizza Calcio, our guest that we had last week. He said they said where do you think Lazio will finish in Serie A when 2020-2021 is all said and done? So simply put, where's Lazio going to finish this season?
I'm just pulling up the table actually right now, and I before the season started, I had them finishing in 4th, and then when the transfer market was closed, I had them still in 4th, but I changed Inter to 2nd and Juventus to 1st, so I'm a big mush. So I didn't tell anybody this. So I had Juventus going 1st, so I mushed them to end this Scudetto reign that I can't stand anymore. I don't want to be one of those Juventus haters and like sound really bitter, but I respect that they've been able to achieve so much. But we need a new winner in Serie A. That's just the way I look at it. It just gives a better look to the league, more competitiveness. That you need that change. But but in regards to Lazio, I do believe that they're a top 4 team, and I don't think that last season was just a fluke. I give credit to Tade and Lotito being active in the transfer market. I think they spent around 35 million, and people say, well, Lazio doesn't spend enough money. They don't. Lotito's cheap. I can see that Lotito maybe doesn't want to open the tight pockets. When he opens it, the dust comes out. But this is not a rich club like Bayern or Juventus or PSG, where they can just splash the cash and say, hey, we're going to go buy X and Y for 40 million and 50 million. There's that whole liquidity ratio or the spending ratio where you have to like sell players to buy players. I know that it was something that, I don't know if I said the ratio right, but there's like an index or ratio where you need to make sure you're selling players, making money coming in order to buy players. So like it was like an issue where Mohamed Fades, it took a while for him to arrive, but in the most part, we bought a striker that it's been unfortunate that he hasn't been able to play regularly. He had COVID, had an injury, picked up another injury recently. Fades, still very young, 24, I believe, still has a lot of potential. He was really good at ball. People are so overreactionary of him. A few bad games, never had training, came off a really serious injury last season. Like I said earlier, Wesley Hook came in. He's been really marvelous this season. So like Pereira came on loan. He's stepped up when he has to. Akpro has been a sensation in the midfield. Escalante came. So I'm naming players. Peperena stepped up really well for Thomas Strakosha in the short term right now when he was battling COVID. And then to be able to retain players such as Ciro Immobile, Luis Alberto, Sergei Milinkovic-Savic, Lucas Leiva, and I believe that Lazio is the 6th highest club in Serie A in wages. Like that, to me, if you're the 6th highest out of 20 clubs, how can a guy like Lotito be really cheap, right? He's keeping the core of his club. To not lose your best players in four plus seasons, and they've built continuity. That's what they're a foundation, a family-like club where they fight for each other. And I think that's the biggest positive of this team, where there's that mentality that they'll go to the limits to fight for each other, to win at all costs. So it's going to be tough. I do believe that Sassuolo is going to drop off. I don't think they're a top 4 team. If anything, they'll probably hang around for 6th place. I personally don't think Roma is as good as what they are right now. I'm sorry. I don't like their depth.
I mentioned it before too. They're a bit up and down for me. They don't have an identity.
That was a nice little jab. That was a nice little jab. I like that.
No, but he's not wrong. They don't have an identity.
He's not.
Right? They don't have a solid core. You need to find a core.
I'm not the kind of guy who go on social media on Twitter and say Roma Merda or Roma this. I know the whole rivalry between Lazio and Roma, and I know I might get a lot of flack for this, but I don't live in Lazio. I don't live in that era where the hatred is. Whereas I live in Toronto, I can see what the hatred is between Toronto and Montreal, say in hockey. So I don't really live that mutiny, that kind of like bash between the two clubs. And I've always said in every podcast, and I'll say it here, my most hated team is Milan, because of a friend of mine who just like used to chirp me all the time when Milan plays Lazio. So that to me, that's my biggest rivalry, where I have a friend where just like Milan will just beat Lazio, and I don't even say nothing about Milan. I just at home watching the game. I gotta see Milan this, Milan that, and then my second team's Juventus. Just can't stand Juventus. I'm sorry, but so like when
me and Idri right here.
Okay. Okay.
But with Roma, like I said, I don't like their depth, man. Who replaces Dzeko up front? Like they still haven't solved the issue of a second striker. I'm not a big fan of their midfield. I don't think they did enough. Their back end, I think he's been good this season. Still a young back end, but I think as the season progresses, I think depth is going to be their biggest issue. When they don't convert their chances, another team, it'll come back to haunt them, as it did against Sassuolo this past weekend. But I think that when you look at it, when it's all said and done, Milan can drop off anytime. I'm actually curious to see what happens to Milan when they lose their first game. And a lot of the time, I'd love to hear what you guys think, that when a team goes on such a hot streak, 20-game unbeaten streak, 20-game winning streak, 10-game winning streak, and you lose that first game, I think it's important to see how they respond. I know they lost in the Europa League, but that didn't really affect them because that unbeaten streak was still intact in the Serie A. So I'm just curious to see how they mentally respond if they lose that first game or when, and if it creates a domino effect moving forward. So, but at the end of the day, it's a toss-up. This is like an unpredictable season, and I can see Lazio, like I said, finishing at top 4.
Well, just to counteract your point to the Roma comment, I mean, Dzeko they need to find a replacement for him, but the Mayoral deal is a loan, but they have the option to buy the 23-year-old at any point this year. And I hope they do, because yes, you need to find some form of a young striker to replace him. And on the Roma front, we have a question from Ben Veronelli. He wants to know, why is Lazio so much worse than Roma?
Another friendly job the other way. Another friendly job.
So much worse, huh? When was the last time Roma won a trophy?
Hey, they won the tree.
Oh, the tree. You guys keep on watering that thing? Or you keeping it?
Oh shit!
I wish I had a tree. No, I don't actually. I actually don't. But that's a funny question, man. I you know what? They had an owner, that Gigi Pallotta, who, you gotta give him credit. He invested, he invested into the club. Like, the only problem was he wasn't investing properly, and now what were they in debt? 300 million, 200 million. I lost count to how much they're in debt. I thought Milan was in the gutters, man. When you can outbid Milan in their debt, man, that's an issue. But you know, Roma is going in the right direction. I will agree with that. They are going in a more youth project. Do I think that it's going to be bad times for Roma for the foreseeable future? For the short term, yes. In the long term, I don't think it's going to be this forever. Teams figure it out. Milan's showing how to get out of it, and I do believe, and I'm being as a neutral. I think that Roma can get out of this, and I'll say one thing: I'm very happy to see Lazio be a stable club where they're able to generate a profit in most of their seasons, and yet still retain that competitiveness where they're able to stay at a top 6, 7 type of team and not drop off below that threshold. So, yeah, you want to be that Juventus who wins Scudettos, but it's not always the realistic goal as a club. And I was listening on a podcast today on Golazzo, and it was an old episode, and it was about their previous owner. It just went blank in my head now. Craig Notti, and when he won the Lazio's second Scudetto in their era, they had 200,000 fans come celebrate. Do you know how many fans went to go celebrate for Roma the following year when they won the Scudetto? 2 million fans. Wow. So to have 2 million fans versus 200,000, that's a lot in sales, ticket sales, you name it, apparel, sponsorship it can get you, and for Lazio to still be able to generate income, earn profit, and keep the club afloat is very impressive. So, like I said, not everybody likes. I know that Lotito has the biggest mouth, and his comments make no sense, and sometimes he kind of crosses the line. But in a business aspect, he is managing the club right, and maybe it's something that Roma should consider how he does business. It's not always how much you spend, but how you spend. And I give credit to Tade. He knows how to spend. So what, $7 million on Luis Alberto, $6 million or $7 million on Immobile, $18 million on Savage. Like, those are the types of deals. And I'll give credit to Milan. I think that Milan has the signing of the year, in my opinion. And how you pronounce his name? Hauge?
Hauge.
I think he's the signing of the year. What did he cost Milan?
Not even a couple million, I think it was. I think like 4 million.
4 million.
They
or whatever it was.
They pulled a play out of Juve's playbook by buying someone who scored against them in Europe.
Yeah.
It works though. Look how good he's been, man. He had a phenomenal game in the Europa League just recently. Who was it against? Celtic, and he stepped up again. I believe this past weekend against Sampdoria, or he had a good game. But he's consistent. He's growing, and even if he's just a decent player, the reward of him now. You bought a player for 4 million. You could cash in for 40 million, say, and a team like Milan who's in debt, just. It helps him for the future, right? But this is a guy I don't think they're going to sell, and he's been fantastic in his first season in Serie A. And I think a lot credit to him because a lot of players struggle to even adjust to the Serie A coming from other leagues. So a lot of people say, well, Serie A it's not a competitive league. It's not that hard. Juventus wins every year, but when I watch Serie A compared to EPL, anybody who can run at a fast speed can compete in the EPL. Anybody who's tactically minded, needs to be sound position, understand the game very well, can play in Serie A. Serie A is a whole different level, and I think it's much more advanced. That's just the way I look at it, though.
No, it's well said, and I'm glad you brought up the Hauge point because he has looked good coming off the bench for Milan. But sticking with Lazio, since you are our Lazio guest, we got a question from our good friend again from your neck of the woods, Joseph from Calcio Fan Blogs. He writes, "Who's a bigger Lazio legend in your viewpoint, Jerry? Ciro Immobile or Beppe Signori?" Obviously, I believe now Immobile had passed him in all-time goals with Lazio. I don't know if you know much about Signori. If you've researched him at all, I don't know. But right, I guess this is probably going to be an easy one because you know Cheeto is your boy. But if you had to pick between them two, Joseph's asking, who would you pick?
I don't know too much about Beppe Signore. Like, I'd be making it up if I knew what he did for Lazio or how he played. Or it's two different eras too, two different types of football. Where just to go sidetrack, I actually watched the game. It was '98. It was on YouTube. It was Milan versus Lazio, and I was watching like just the flow. I believe Lazio had it was a 3-3 tie actually, and it was like so offensive the game. Like the flow of the game was just going back and forth, like you wouldn't believe. There was just the tempo, and you watch today's game. It's much more. There's more composure. There's more flow from the backfield up. Moving up towards the midfield to the final third. So I'm going to go with Immobile because I've been able to watch him for the last 4 years. And at a time where Lazio doesn't have the best team, and they think Beppe Signore probably had a better team around him, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that. I'm not sure who he played around. I would have to research that. But I'll go on the basis that with Immobile, comes to Lazio, his career is on the downhill. People write him off. Choke artist, didn't work well with Dortmund, didn't work well with Sevilla. He had a fantastic stint with Torino. Comes back with Lazio after I think his loan at Torino was impressive for half a season. Lazio picks him up. They get a deal, and all of a sudden, this guy's flourishing under Simone Inzaghi, who, before he even became manager of Lazio, all he's ever done was coach in the Primavera, and he took over Marcello Bisla, how he pronounced his last name, sorry. But and the two have just like created a relationship from start till now, and a lot of credit to Immobile battling his critics and continuing to impress with Lazio. I know that a lot of people say that, well, why can't he do that for Italy? Well, I give credit to Inzaghi because he adapts the lineup that suits to Immobile's strengths. He has a midfielder he has found in Luis Alberto, who's creative and understands how to pass to him, how to find him in stride when he makes his runs. And with Italy, I don't think they've understood how Immobile plays. And every time I see him up front in the goal area, it's like it's really congested for him to separate himself from the defenders. And that's not his kind of game. Like, he needs to play with space up top in a 3-5-2. And the funny part is, I would love and all these games that Italy has been able to play. Not once I don't think once they have tried to see how it would work out with a 3-5-2. Just to even in their friendly games, just to see what would it be like if Italy played in a different formation, not the 4-3-3. Could it work? What would it look like with Immobile? Do you change your formation up when you have Immobile in? A lot of coaches throughout games, they go to a back five, they go to a back four, they go to a back three, they go with a double pivot, one striker up top. So I think that's the biggest flaw in it. And had they ever adapted to Immobile's strengths and seeing what they can get out of him that suits him, then maybe I would say, yeah, you know what? It's not working for Immobile. He is the choke artist. He is that guy. But with Italy, like, I want to see something that is able to adapt to his strengths. And I know people are going to say, well, he needs to figure out how to play 4-3-3. How do you figure out how to play a 4-3-3 if you don't play it every day? It's not what you're going to go and you just walk in and it just works like that. I know they're professionals, but if he's always mindset is playing with the two-man front there, it's hard. But for Lazio though, the guy just does it all. Mr. Consistent. And then I think the biggest thing about him is his maturity. After his outburst against Parma when he got subbed off and he his character was very poor in how he reacted. He didn't like the decision, and then Simone Inzaghi benched him to start against Inter the following match. And from that period on, he took accountability, took ownership, and I think that's the one thing I like about Immobile is that even when he's at fault, he owns up to it and he doesn't shy away from it. And when he doesn't score or whatever it may be, and that kind of makes him a leader for this team. So he's just an all-around player that just knows how to score, and his work ethic is one of the best, I think, in football, where he just keeps on running. And I laugh when people say, well, another penalty for Immobile. Well, guess what? If defenders don't know how to defend against Immobile, well, that's not his fault, man. Like yesterday, he made a perfect run down the left wing. Player tackles him right in the box. Like the effort and ability just to get around him and put him in that position, in a vulnerable position, to challenge him like that. Credit to Immobile. He didn't quit on the play. He made something out of nothing, and that's how he plays. If you don't know how to defend against Immobile, well, tough luck. I guess it's simple as that, right? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
So,
no, it's well said, Jerry. And again, now with Immobile, he's going to have his critics. He's going to get the hate, but we know that we'll be backing him, and we definitely know you will as well. So with that, Jerry, the pleasure is all ours. But we couldn't thank you enough for jumping onto the podcast tonight, talking Lazio, talking Champions League, talking Immobile. Like we started off the show, we send our condolences to the family of Paolo Rossi. We know you will as well. And quickly, Jerry, where can we find yourself and your podcast that you do with the great Alex Donno, the Calcio Connection?
You can find us at Calcio Con Pod, and it's Calcio Connection Podcast, and myself at Jerry Mancini 8.
Well, short and sweet, just the way we like it. Yeah. So again, Jerry, thank you from all of us. And where you guys can find us every week, we say it at the Calcio Guys on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook as well. Catch our podcast on all your favorite podcasting platforms. And we'll be back next week to talk more Calcio.
Thanks for listening.
Ciao.
Bye.
The Calcio Guys is a weekly podcast by Adreano DiNardo, Gianni Dellacoli, and myself, Nicholas Di Giovanni. We want to bring Calcio back to its roots in our communities and share stories from around the world about why we're passionate about the beautiful game. You can listen to us anywhere where you listen to your podcasts, including Spreaker, Google Podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, iHeart Radio, and Mixcloud. Give us your opinion on social media at The Calcio Guys on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. The outro song is The Last Ones by Jazar.